Hello. When I went to say good night to Mark and Cark, the jackdaws, I said, well, good night, Mark and Cark. You've finished everything that you meant to finish today, haven't you? And Mark said,
Yeah.
and Cark said,
Yeah.
yes. You've finished your new nest in the big tree, and I must say it looks very nice. A bit untidy, but very nice. It's just as well that your old nest in the chimney pot caught fire, because the director would never have let you stay there. And we know now just how your old nest caught fire. Because shipmate Sam, the penguin, told Cooey Louie the pigeon, and Cooey Louie the pigeon told the Budgerigars Information Centre, and the Budgerigars told me. One day, shipmate Sam the penguin was doing drill with his small gang of penguins. They quite like doing drill, do the penguins, and shipmate Sam is very good at drilling them. He marched them up and down beside the pool. Oh, It was while they were drilling that the sneery seagull swooped down and said to shipmate Sam,
Hello, Flatfoot. Have you had your fish yet?
Oh,
Oh, well, I'll just wait a bit.
and the sneery seagull waited on the wall until the keeper came with a bucket of sprats for shipmate Sam and his gang. And the keeper threw the sprats to the penguins. When suddenly, just as the keeper was throwing the 25th sprat, the sneery seagull swooped, caught it in mid-air, and took it up to the chimney pot to eat.
You didn't get that one, shipmate.
And every day that sneery seagull would swoop and snatch a fish in mid-air and take it up to the chimney pot to eat.
You didn't get that one, shipmate.
The sneery seagull got very good at catching things in mid-air. In fact, if he saw anybody throwing anything, he would swoop and snatch it, if it wasn't too big. Yes, until that day when he saw a man throw something away in the zoo. He swooped and caught it and took it up to the chimney pot to eat.
Thanks very much. It's hot.
Yes, it was hot. It was a hot cigar end, and the sneery seagull dropped it quickly into Mark and Cark's nest. That was how the nest caught fire. Still, you're happier in the tree, aren't you, Mark and Cark?
All right.
Good night. When I went to say good night to the goats, I said, well, good night, goats. You've had rather a naughty sort of a day again, haven't you? And Big Banghead, the biggest goat of them all, said,
Yes, we have had rather a naughty sort of a day.
And the smallest goat, Little Bumpnut, said,
Yes, we have had rather a naughty sort of a day.
I know. Everybody heard about it. It started when Walter Pobjoy came into the zoo on his way home from school. The first thing that Walter Pobjoy did was to chase the peacocks on the lawn, and they screamed for help.
Help! Help! Help!
That brought their keeper out.
Hey, stop that! What do you think you're doing?
But Walter Pobjoy went, yeah. The next thing Walter Pobjoy did was to go along to the goats. But for once, he just couldn't think of anything to do to the goats. He just went, yeah. And Big Banghead went, bleh. And Walter Pobjoy went, yeah. And Little Bumpnut went, bleh. And Walter Pobjoy went, yeah. And then he noticed an old cardboard box in the litter bin. And he took the cardboard box and ripped off a big piece. And he said to Little Bumpnut, Here you are. Here's something to eat. Big Banghead The biggest goat said,
I wouldn't eat that if I were you.
Oh, why?
Oh, it's cardboard. There's no flavour to it. It's just like those plastic ice cream cartons. No flavour at all.
Oh, but I'd like to try.
and Little Bumpnut moved a little nearer towards Walter Pobjoy and the cardboard. And Walter Pobjoy leant right over the low wall, offering the cardboard. "Here you are. Come on, come on." And he was so keen on watching Little Bumpnut that he didn't notice Big Banghead. Big Banghead just lifted Walter Pobjoy's arithmetic exercise book out of his school satchel and carried it up to his favourite rock. And he just ripped it up page by page by page, and he ate it.
Yeah, very good flavour, this arithmetic book.
Walter Pobjoy was flabbergasted. "Hey, give me back my book! Oh, give it back! Oh, I won't have copper in the morning." But Big Banghead just went on chewing up the arithmetic exercise book.
Wonderful thing, education. Just think of the amount of learning I've suggested today.
Yes, you've had quite a naughty sort of a day, haven't you, you goats?
Yes.
Yes. Good night.
Good night. When I went to say good night to Harum Scarum the cockatoo, I said, "Well, Harum Scarum, you rather slipped up today, didn't you?" And Harum Scarum the cockatoo said,
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Everybody laughing at me.
"I know they're laughing at you, Harum Scarum, and I must say you do look rather funny."
Don't you start.
"All right, Harum Scarum, I won't start." It was Grumble Hump the camel who started to laugh first of all. Well, he was the first one to see it.
Oh, goodness me. What a frightfully funny-looking cockatoo. Oh, dear, dear, it's old Harum Scarum. What a sight he looks.
And then the kookaburra started to laugh. And then Bubbles the hippopotamus started to laugh.
"You don't half look funny, Harum Scarum. Oh dear, don't make me laugh too much. I get my mouth full of water."
And the Budgerigars Information Service could hardly keep their information up to date for laughing. Well, it all began when a rather nice old gentleman came into the zoo. And when he walked underneath Harum Scarum's tree, Harum Scarum called out, "Hello!" And the old gentleman said,
Oh, hello. What a charming bird to be sure. Are you nice and friendly? Are you? Oh, yes, very friendly, very friendly.
and Harum Scarum climbed out of his tree and walked onto the old gentleman's shoulder.
Oh, you are a nice bird, aren't you? Oh, yes.
Yes, but you know what Harum Scarum was after? Yes, he'd seen a great big fountain pen in the old gentleman's top pocket.
Oh, what a lovely pen.
And as quick as anything, he took the pen in his beak and hopped up into his tree.
Oh, do be careful with that pen. It's full of ink.
But Harum Scarum just cracked the pen in two and scratched his head with the bigger half, the way cockatoos do.
Oh, that's a nice scratch. Animals.
Ah, yes. But it was no ordinary pen, was it, Harum Scarum?
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
No. It was a pen that could write in 3 colours. It was full of black ink and green ink and red ink. And you got it all over your face, didn't you, Harum Scarum?
Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
Still, I expect it'll wear off in time, but you'll sure to look funny for a while. No more pens, Harum Scarum.
No more pens. Only pencils. Good night.
Only pencils. Good night. When I went to say good night to Snowdrop, the baby polar bear, I said, "Well, good night, Snowdrop. You've learned a lesson today, haven't you?" And Snowdrop said, "Yes, I have." "You won't try to eat things that people throw to you any more, will you?" "No, I won't." "Last week you ate 3 apples that people threw to you, didn't you?" "Yes, I did." "And they gave you a terrible pain, didn't they?" "Yes, they did." "Then you tried to eat that lump of toffee, and your jaws were stuck together for hours, weren't they?" "Yes, they were." "And then today there was that balloon, wasn't there?" "Yes, there was." "It was a big yellow balloon, and it came floating over the zoo. Grumblehump the camel was giving camel rides at the time, and the balloon bumped him on the nose."
Ooh, good gracious me! Whatever was that? Dear, oh dear, oh dear. I nearly upset me load.
And so he did. Grumblehump jumped so much when the balloon hit him that he nearly tipped his passengers out onto the path. Hooter the elephant was giving elephant rides at the time, and he tried to catch the balloon with his trunk.
Now, leave it to me, all. Leave it to me. I'll catch that balloon. Leave it to me.
And Hooter tried to grab it with his trunk, but the yellow balloon sailed up out of Hooter's reach, and it brushed past some trees, and there it just caught itself on one of the sharp branches, and it got a tiny puncture, and it started to go down. And as the air squeaked out of the balloon, it sailed down lower and lower. It floated past the kookaburras, and they thought that it was very funny. They laughed like anything. It drifted past the Budgerigars information service, and they made a note of it at once.
There's a yellow balloon sighted travelling west, about to land on the polar bears.
Yes, it landed right beside you, didn't it, Snowdrop?
Yes, it did.
And it was making such a funny noise.
Yes, it was.
And you said, "What a squeaky lemon," didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And you tried to eat it, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And it went bang!
Yes, it did.
And it frightened you very badly, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
You're not going to eat any old thing that lands in your enclosure now, are you?
No, I'm not. I think I've learned that little lesson. Good night.
I think so. Good night. When I went to say good night to Toodaloo the owl, I said, "Well, good night, Toodaloo. You solved the mystery of the sprats all right, didn't you?" And Toodaloo the owl said,
Oh, please don't remind me about it. I don't want to hear any more about it. No more.
"All right, Toodaloo, we'll forget about it, but it will take a day or two." Well, you see, we asked Toodaloo to solve the mystery of the sprats, because sprats were appearing all over the zoo. One appeared in Charlie the Warthog's garden. Another turned up in Hilda the Ostrich's enclosure, and nobody knew how they got there. And so we asked Toodaloo to solve the mystery, because he's very good at that sort of thing. And Toodaloo did solve the mystery, but he didn't want to. He solved the mystery because he had to. Well, he told me that one night, when he was sitting in his tree, with the moon shining big and yellow behind him, he heard a little noise, like this. And he heard another noise, like this. They were nearly the same noise, but not quite. There were 2 things making those noises. Yeah. And Toodaloo saw those 2 things scampering down the path in the moonlight. Yeah, they were 2 little burglars by the names of Whippet and Nicket, and they scuttled behind the pool where the penguins live, and they stopped by the door of the storehouse where the penguins' fish is kept. and they slipped through a hole in the bottom of the door. And then they came out dragging, yes, a sprat. They were going to drag that sprat to their home, right on the other side of the zoo. They got as far as Charlie the Warthog's garden when Toodaloo swooped down from his tree. Well, he's very fond of a nice mouse, now and again. But as he swooped, he couldn't make up his mind which one to catch, Whippet or Nicket. He hesitated, and they both got away and left the sprat. The next night the same thing happened, and the next. So poor old Toodaloo knew the answer to the mystery all the time. And what he had to decide was to tell us that he'd missed catching Whippet and Nicket ever so many times. Never mind, Toodaloo. They've mended the storehouse door. Whippet and Nicket will not be able to steal any more sprats. So don't worry.
Oh, but I do. Toodaloo.
Toodaloo. Toodaloo. When I went to say good night to the crocodiles, I said, "Well, good night, crocodiles. You haven't done very much today, have you?" And Snapper, the biggest crocodile of them all, said, "No, we never move." "No, and you hardly ever blink your eyes, do you?" "Hardly ever. We can stare anyone out." "I know, that's very handy sometimes, isn't it?" "Yes, sometimes." "I know it was very handy today, wasn't it, with Trit-Trot the pony?" Well, Trit-Trot the pony had come to the zoo to give pony rides. Well, everybody hoped that he might give pony rides, but Trit-Trot didn't like giving pony rides. Trit-Trot didn't even like having his saddle on. Every time I went to put his saddle on, he jumped in the air and pranced around in circles, saying,
No, I don't like it. I don't like it. No.
"Now, come on, Trit-Trot. Lots of ponies have saddles. You'll soon get used to it."
No.
"All right then, Trit-Trot. Let's go for a walk around the zoo." And so we go for a walk around the zoo. And I have to carry Trit-Trot's saddle because he wouldn't wear it. And when we came to Snapper the crocodile, Trit-Trot said,
You crocodiles never do anything.
And Snapper the crocodile said, "I bet I can stare you out, Trit-Trot." And Trit-Trot said,
I bet you can.
"All right then, we start staring now." And Trit-Trot stared at Snapper, and Snapper stared at Trit-Trot, and they stared and stared, and neither of them blinked. But it was very hard for Trit-Trot, because he wasn't used to staring like this, and while he was staring, I very gently put the saddle on his back and very carefully tightened up the girth, and he didn't even notice it was there. And then suddenly Snapper blinked. Didn't you, Snapper? "Yes, I blinked. I didn't have to, but I did." "Yes, very nice of you, Snapper, because Trit-Trot shouted out,
Hooray! I won. I stared him out. Hooray!
And you know, he didn't know he'd got his saddle on. He's still got it on. He'll soon get used to it now. "Yes. Did I say you hadn't done much today, Snapper?" "Yes." "You've done quite a lot, haven't you?" "Yes. Good night." "Good night." When I went to say good night to Tub Thump the gorilla, I said, "Well, good night, Tub Thump. You've had rather a noisy day today, haven't you?" And Tub Thump the gorilla said,
Yes, I have. A very noisy day.
"I know. And it wasn't your fault, was it, Tub Thump?"
No, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault at all.
"I know. It was that Walter Pobjoy, wasn't it?"
I don't know his name, But if it was that boy with the whistle, then that was him. You see, I can't stand noise, especially whistles. I don't know what it is, but they go right through me.
I know.
It's terrible.
I know. And the day began rather well, didn't it?
Yes, it was a beautiful morning and I was sitting on my big tree trunk over there. I like sitting on my tree trunk, you know.
I know.
That's the best place to think, sitting on a tree trunk.
Is it?
Oh, yes. I don't know what it is, but I can think better sitting on that tree trunk than anywhere else.
No, you'd hardly believe that, would you? Well, yes, I would believe it.
Well, I was sitting there thinking when along come this boy, oh, what's his name?
Walter Pobjoy.
That's it, Walter Pobjoy.
I know. I heard all about it. Walter Pobjoy blew his whistle. And it sort of went right through Tub Thump, and he jumped. He jumped right off his tree trunk, and he slapped his chest. Gorillas do that, you know. Of course, Walter Pobjoy thought that was great fun, and he blew again. And Tub Thump slapped his chest, and again, and again. And Tub Thump was getting in a terrible state because not only was he slapping his chest, he was banging the big door at the back of his cage. Oi, 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 oi. Oi, 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 oi. Goodness knows what would have happened if Hooter the elephant hadn't come along. He just picked the whistle out of Walter Pobjoy's hand with his trunk and went whoosh, and tossed it right into the middle of the lake. Well, Hooter can't stand whistles either. Just as well, Tub Thump.
Yes. Have you brought me some supper?
Well, there's some celery.
Oh, thank you. It's very noisy, this celery, isn't it?
Good celery is always noisy, Tub Thump.
Oh, haven't you got anything a bit quieter?
Well, a banana is a nice quiet fruit.
That'll do. I like a nice quiet bit of fruit. Good night.
Good night.